Texas has experienced some really crazy weather over the last couple of years. And I'm not even talking the last couple of years. I'm talking maybe the last 15 years, maybe. Just my personal experience. I am a born and raised Texan, born in Fort Worth. And I will tell you, Texas used to actually have 4 seasons, believe it or not, when I was coming up. I know a lot of folks don't believe that, especially people from outside of Texas who think Texas is just some dry, hot-ass place. But and it is dry and hot at times. But Texas actually had 4 seasons. We had a spring, summer, winter, and fall. So you could predict the weather pretty good. Like in the fall season, you knew when winter was coming right around Halloween, I think. Halloween is around the time you knew that winter was coming, you know what I'm saying? And then of course in April, probably March, April, you had all the thunderstorms, the heavy spring showers and the storms and the blooming flowers and the landscape waking up. And then you had the searing heat in Texas. You know, everybody knows about that hot Texas heat. Texas has been known for just some scorching heat down here. And that hasn't let up. It's actually gotten hotter. And then we had winters. Now, I'll be honest with you. Our Texas winters were, for us, they were nice and crispy, you know what I'm saying? But from some folks from like Chicago and New York, that's not, these are not winters we're having here. So I will say our winters have always been pretty mild. Although the last couple of years, we've had some doozies. And so, like I said, coming up, man, we had 4 seasons. I mean, it was just, it's crazy how things have changed. You know, I look at things now, and I also want people from Texas who have spent a lot of time in Texas, any amount of time, significant amount of time. I love to hear your comments on this, and tell me if I'm just thinking out of my yin yang. But the weather here has gotten like really, really odd. You know, I got here in Austin after retiring from the military in 2009. I got to Austin in 2010, and as soon as I got to Austin, crazy things started happening. They had all these wildfires. There's a lot of wildfires early on back then in Bastrop and some of the other counties down here near Austin. And I can remember looking outside and the sky is just dark and black because of the amount of acreage that was burned in Bastrop. And it was a horrific thing. And you can still drive through Bastrop now and you can see all the trees still look like burnt toothpicks. You know, they were just scorched, you know. You know, since arriving back, retiring from the military, you know, obviously Austin is actually known for, or Central Texas is known for flash floods. You know, everybody's looking at the news on TV about what happened with the down in Kerrville and the camps and things like that. That's nothing new to the folks here in Central Texas and even South Austin, some of the areas down there. But they're not to that magnitude. You got flash floods that have taken human lives over the years, but nothing to that magnitude that's taken place in Kerrville. But man, the weather's just been wicked. It's been wicked. I know there's a lot of people say there's no climate change, but I'm telling you, the climate is changing. You know, I see it with my own eyes. You know, like I said, we used to have 4 seasons. We just had some really odd things take place here. Not only with the wildfires, you know, we had this Texas freeze back in February that I can tell you, as a born and raised Texan, that was really, really not the norm. That was crazy. And, you know, a lot of people saying that's the first time Texas has been through that. I'm one that tends to believe that's not the first time. It's probably been the first time in our lifetimes, but I'm sure Texas has seen some deep freezes like that, but that was like sub-freezing for like a week. I know down here in Austin, man, we buckled down. We're in survival mode because we had no utilities whatsoever, and it was just cold as hell. But we made our way through it. Now, Texas has been known, everybody knows Texas has been known for tornadoes. You know, the winds down here in Texas, particularly out West Texas and places like that. The tornadoes are still here. They're still here. They're still wreaking havoc. They're still taking lives. But the other weather patterns are starting to kind of creep up and show their faces, like these floods, man. These massive floods down in Central Texas and Kerrville. You know, the deep freeze in February 2021. The Bastrop wildfires back in it was sometime between 2010 and 2012, I think, that took place. But it was horrible. But I'm not one to say that, you know, I don't get into the whole political thing about climate deniers and that sort of thing. I think that's a waste of time. But I think what's most important is to just understand what you see with your own eyes. And what I'm seeing is just a huge change in the weather patterns. And like I said, y'all chime in, the Texans on here, y'all chime in. Anybody spent a significant amount of time in Texas, y'all know what I'm talking about. It's just different. And I'm not saying Texas is the only state going through these changes. It's happening globally, not just in other states, but in other countries. They're seeing things they've never seen before. You know, we took a cruise up to Alaska back in, I think, 2023. And I saw firsthand what they were talking about when they were saying the polar ice caps melting and the melting of the ice. And man, I saw it in the cruise ships. We were sailing and you could tell this stuff had melted off, and you could tell that wasn't a norm, because even the captain on the ship, he mentioned something like that about how the global warming has just even by a point something degree can cause havoc, in that part of the world with all that ice. But yeah, man, Texas has experienced a lot of crazy weather. It's not the same Texas I grew up with. Love Texas. I'm a Texan, born Texan. I'll probably die here in Texas.